Hello friends and welcome. Today I have a great example of a lane equilibrium situation that every player should know how to handle in order to win their lanes and win games, MMR, whatever, blah, 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 all that stuff. It is directly related to the classic mistake where the support goes to pull and then the carry immediately dies. How are you supposed to handle that? As soon as the lane starts to shove, this is where you either need to consider a pull coming up shortly or maybe you need to start denying your own creeps a lot. The off lane should be happy with this and want to continue encouraging the lane to come out because they like that to happen. The other option you have is to go aggressive as you build up a creep advantage and hit a level advantage, which is what the Crystal Maiden and the Troll are going to go for in this case. This won't always happen. We will talk through it, but a lot of cases your lane just shoves out without actually killing the enemy heroes, and that's the main thing we're going to focus on in this video. And I'm actually just going to play this through at 4x speed first, because this is what is going to happen. When your lane shoves out, you will enter this infinite cycle where it goes under the tower, damages the next creep wave. Because their creep wave is damaged, your full health creep wave kills it. It then pushes in again, goes under the tower, and you repeat. You will constantly enter this cycle, and the equilibrium will be stuck here until you do one of the things we're going to talk about. And what happens to most carry players and supports is that they don't do this, or they're not on the same page of it happening. And then at some point the support leaves, the carry stays, and then that's where they get run down. Sometimes they don't die, they just take a bunch of damage. Other times they do die, and this is the classic. Option number one is to shove in the lane so that the tower helps you kill off the creeps. The next wave that spawns here, 2 minutes. So this creep wave and this creep wave, an important concept to know is that every creep wave is supposed to meet at equilibrium right here. On the Radiant side, it's right around here, a little closer to the tower. It is what heroes and creeps and pulls that happen that interrupt this that will mess up this equilibrium. In this case, we have all of these creeps still alive. These creeps are what are going to interrupt these creeps so that they don't just walk all the way and meet the next wave here. So if we want the next wave to reset right here, all of this stuff has to be dead somehow, some way. If the enemy heroes are dead, we need to make use of the tower and potentially a pull camp that might be here to get our creeps killed off, because their creeps can be killed by us. We're allowed to do that because they're the enemy, we can hit them. But this range creep, I can't do anything about that until he drops below 50% health. So, especially when they're dead or you took a really good trade and they are weak, I recommend you just shove in the lane. And if you have a moment, kill the range creep first while you can. It's the most dangerous creep to get, but it's the most valuable. Carry players, you see how Troll, he's just like waiting for last hits like usual. Troll and Crystal Maiden could have just auto-attacked the entire time, and then this creep wave would mostly be dead. Maybe they even use a spell potentially. They certainly could have killed this range creep. Killing this range creep as a ranged carry, you can maybe stand like somewhere around here. If you have a spell, maybe you can stand further back. Melee carries are going to need to be here. This is clearly a lot more dangerous than if the melee creeps are the ones you want to get and you can stand somewhere back here. Melee heroes can stand back here. This is a huge difference. It may not sound like a lot, but standing here versus here is massive in terms of safety. So while it's safe to do so, kill this range creep. Maybe both enemy heroes are still alive. The support hasn't left to potentially do a pull yet. Then both of you can focus this range creep together. If you can't get it, then it happens. You don't need to get every single range creep. Carry players, you don't have to have every single range creep. Offlane players, you don't need to have every single ranged creep. If Troll and Crystal Maiden had been attacking right now, then all of the creeps would be about to die right now, and this creep wave would walk under the tower, and we would hope that they all die to the tower before the next wave gets here. This is where the timing can be tricky. Who knows when the kills happen, how the lane shoved, all of that. But all these creeps got to be dead before the next creep wave gets here, and it kind of looks like this one. It ain't happening since we didn't attack fast enough. And it's pretty early, and this is a lot of creeps. Whether you shove the lane in or not, pulling can also be part of how you fix equilibrium. I actually recommend hard camp pulls more than we used to have in the past, because things like Blood Grenade have added increased kill threat in the laning stage, which means in the past it used to be easier for the carry to play safe, but now there's like Blood Grenade can be chucked in really far for a long slow and everyone gets a chase. Maybe there's a second Blood Grenade. So it's way scarier. The more you can be in the lane, the more XP you get, so you can continue to stay strong and fight. You get the banner creep gold, all that stuff. So it's much better than it used to be. but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're way weaker than the offlane, sometimes it's blocked, and then this isn't an option. So then our last option is a small pull. Do we want a full pull or a half pull? It depends. This is where things are tricky. Hopefully talking through it in this video will help give you a better idea, but a lot of it does just come down to experience, practice, and getting the hang of it. So we either want this existing creep wave, the one that spawned at 2 minutes, to meet up with this creep wave, their 2-minute creep wave. They'll both be damaged. These guys will be damaged by these existing creeps. These guys will be damaged by this existing creeps, the small camp. But we're hoping that the amount of time it takes to walk from this small camp to here is about the same time it takes for these creeps. Let's actually just go a little further. For these creeps, once these guys are dead, to walk from here to about here. So if we do a small camp pull and we are thinking about this existing creep camp, then this camp needs to die at the exact same time all of our creeps die. Depending how many creeps you pushed in, this is more or less possible. You push in one single range creep, then it's not going to live very long. These guys are going to be delayed by like 2 seconds and then keep moving again. And if you do a full pull, it's going to take a lot longer to kill a full small camp, even if you attack and use spells. And that is what is going to get the camp wave under your, or the creep wave under the tower, and then it's going to shove out again, and then we're back to the exact same situation. If you have a very large wave, I'm talking 6+ creeps, this is where you don't want to do any damage at all to the small camp and let the creep wave do as much as possible so they stay here longer, because it's going to take longer for the tower to kill off that many creeps, like 6+ creeps. And in fact, it's also where you now focus on denying your own creep wave, because we have the time. Why not? We try to deny as many of our own creeps. If it's a medium amount of creeps, like the 4-ish we see here, you might need to attack this small camp. This is where it's tricky, and you have to keep looking back at the lane. You have to see what the enemies are doing. Are they attacking the creeps a lot? Is it no longer under the tower? Are they using spells? That all changes how quickly these creeps die. But your guiding principle is that when these creeps, our creeps, die, this small camp needs to die. So you keep looking back and forth, and you try to time it however best you can. Alternatively, it doesn't have to be this 2-minute creep wave meeting here, both of them weakened. You can actually plan for the 2:30 creep wave that is going to spawn soon, and it will meet here with a 2:30 wave that spawns here, so long as all of these creeps are dead and all of these creeps are dead. And that's where a half pull works really well. If you pull the back 2 creeps, right now it would be happening, you pull the back 2 creeps, every small camp will kill those back 2 creeps except kobolds. Kobolds suck. But let's pretend it's happening. Crystal Maiden is doing the back 2 half pull right now. Troll doesn't need to be here. He can like stay in the trees if he wants XP. Troll could either be stopping Ringmaster from interrupting this pull, or Troll could also come over and he doesn't want to miss last hits. Well, guess what? You can last hit this small camp and get some gold, and Crystal Maiden will come over and risk her life to get XP, and carry players are much more comfortable with that situation. But let's pretend the half pull is happening right now. So the back 2 are here fighting to the death. These 2 are walking forward. They do a little bit of body blocking. Whether you do or not doesn't fully matter. This creep wave that was partially damaged, you now have, let's pretend they just go ahead and deny this. You now have 2 creeps versus 2 creeps. 2 melee versus 1 melee and 1 range. They will kill each other off. Even if they don't, and they manage to hold 1 creep alive and they run it around in circles, 1 creep will die to 4 creeps relatively quickly, whether they help it or not. And if you do a little body blocking to make up for that time difference, the 2:30 creep waves that just spawned, they will meet here. Because of all these creeps that need to die, the back 2 died to the half pull, the front 2 are going to die to the remaining creeps here, and the remaining creeps here are also going to die to these creeps, though actually we're kind of okay if these creeps are still alive, because we actually want the enemies to have more creeps than us, because it makes it easier to bounce here, and then you like trim it off. Let's not worry about that. That's like a little further detail than we need. So these creeps all fight it out. We'll just imagine what is happening, where the 2 versus 2.5-ish creeps, because we did a half pull, they're all dead right now. The 2 that are back here, they're dead now. And now this new creep wave, the one that spawned at 2:30, is going to keep walking uninterrupted. It's going to meet here, and you're now going to have creep equilibrium somewhere here. It's not always like perfect, right? Like sometimes you have like 1 creep that lives too long, and then the equilibrium meets here a little bit. But if you have about 4 versus 4 creeps, that is more manageable, and you can potentially deny your creeps enough to slowly get it to come back here. It's when you have like 6 to 4 creeps that's too much, and it will like always push out. If you have like 4 to 3.5, depending on how much damage and attack speed, and if you can bait the enemies to use like AoE spells, that is more playable. And at least for a moment, getting it to come back here is it's going to give you more safety room so that the support can maybe go do a nether pull, and instead of being up here trying to get XP, you're now back here. So it will be generally good. Carry players, because this is mostly a carry mistake. You have to be comfortable with giving up a couple creeps, and you can't be too upset with losing 1 or 2 creeps, because if you stay here, every single range creep you go for is going to be difficult. It's going to cost you health and mana to get. At some point, you might die, and then you're going to lose way more. If you give up that 1 or 2 creeps as the support goes to pull, or you shove in the lane, and you get the equilibrium to come back, you now get to secure your future. That instead of losing the range creep again and again and again and again, your courier gets sniped because you're up here instead of back here, and you guys get run down and killed because the mid rotates over because they see you've been here for the last 3 minutes. All of these are going to slow you down a lot more. Whereas in this situation, instead of risking yourself right here and the support's back here doing a pull, you just come farm. Offlane players, you're actually pretty happy with what's going on. You want to maintain equilibrium here. Try not to drag the creeps under tower too soon. If they force you, then, I mean, so be it. But if you can, hold equilibrium outside, you know, drag it around through here, drag it around through here. And the longer you can maintain it right here, the better, because offlaners are usually stronger than carries. But at level 1, what does that really mean? If you get to like level 2, level 3, get a couple items, it becomes easier to exert your strength, and like a drow, a weaker carry is up here, you can now dive them and chase them all the way down here, as opposed to trying to dive them under their own tower when equilibrium's right here. Or you might be into a strong carry and a strong support. Well, we just saw them kill you earlier. That didn't feel very good. So if you can actually just trade farm evenly back here, that's also really good for you. So offlane players, focus on last hits and denies, keep equilibrium in this area, and know it's okay to go under the tower like we saw a little bit, but mostly after your creeps are dead. Don't like drag them under the tower now, because that's going to kill the enemy creeps off too soon. Soft support players, this is where you have a couple options, and many of you don't use any of them, and we get the classic complaint, my support's just watching me farm while sitting in the trees being useless, splitting my XP. You don't want to do that usually. To hit level 2, it can be okay. After that, we want to start thinking about our options. So we have talked through what the safe lane can do to fix this. If they're gonna shove in a huge wave and try to push in 5 creeps that we can't fight against, so we're forced under tower and the tower kills everything, then you know what we can do when we see them attacking a bunch? We do the same thing. Either hit the enemy heroes to make them too low to pressure us and possibly get our own return kill, or just start hitting their creeps. If they're trying to push 5 creeps into us by killing our 4 creeps, but we just auto attack the same, then they're gonna push in 1 creep, and then that's not really a big deal. We can hold 1 creep out here till our creep wave gets here and maintain equilibrium. However, that's not going to be great, because ultimately getting more creeps killed off is what fixes equilibrium. It is an option for you, though, to prevent yourself from being dove and pushed under here, especially versus stronger heroes like Troll and Crystal Maiden. If you see the hard support going to do a pull, the hard pull is the easiest for you contest. You can just stand somewhere here. Carry players, if you're any good and you want to prevent this, you should be here zoning the 4 support back, but that won't happen in a lot of pubs, and so as the hard support tries to pull this way, as the timing gets close, you just pull it earlier, or you stop them with spells, whatever. Prevent the pulls, and that's just going to continue to maintain this equilibrium right here. The hard support might go towards the small camp to do a pull. Depending on what heroes you're playing, you could go and stop this, prevent them from doing this pull. This might be where you're body blocking the camps if they've never spawned, or if the enemy's trying to unblock it, you go and prevent them from doing that. Your other option, though, is as you see them leave, you do the classic. The support left the lane, let's kill the carry who is now on their own. It depends what heroes you're playing, how much health, mana, all that you have, but these are a couple of your options in terms of playing the lane and being aggressive. A kill at this time of the game would be worth about 300 gold. If you can't go for a kill because the matchups are bad, you're too scared to come over here, that's okay. We can fall back and do a double stack if the timing works out. This double stack is also worth about 300 gold and some XP for your team. You need someone who can clear the stacks. If you make too many too early, that can actually be problematic. But most games have someone who can do the stacks. If they can't do the ancients, just do the hard camp. You can also come and stack this one, depending on like where you're standing, if the timing works out, blah, blah, blah. But that is gold that is being added to your team eventually, as opposed to just sitting here in the trees not doing anything. You can also potentially roam for water runes, power runes. You might even be able to TP gank at this time, and we're not screwing over our offlaner because they're staying here. And even in the situation we talked about where the safe lane deals with it correctly, they shove in the lane, they go do a pull. Notice that we talked about that 217 and equilibrium eventually got fixed at 3 minutes. That is a big window of time for the 4 support. I got equilibrium to come back here. Like, someone did it. They did it themselves, whoever. The equilibrium is here. I now have a window as the 4 support that even if they react correctly, I have at least 30 seconds to go do something else, like this pull, like the water rune, potentially a gank in the right matchups over here, and then I have to twin gate back, whatever. That is our window, and hopefully we get back here. Maybe they didn't even deal with it correctly at all. It's still here, fantastic. You can keep doing whatever. Maybe you come back here anyhow. If they did fix it, and by the time we get back here, then it's back here. Now we're back in the cycle. Okay, I gotta get equilibrium. Maybe I gotta do a pull. Maybe I gotta do a creep drag. Maybe we just fight it out over here as is the normal laning. That's okay, right? But at some point, you get the equilibrium to come back here. We don't just want to AFK sit here. Keep in mind your options. Go aggressive. Stop this stuff from happening. Go do stacks, roam for runes, all that. Runes, bottle refills, also worth a lot. If your mid has a bottle, can also then let them get a power rune to come back. Kill the troll because troll's up here and you got a haste rune and he just zoop, zip, bop, kills your troll. Fantastic. A huge sequence of events. Rather than watching your offlaner just farm, you have secured the bottle rune, you've secured a kill. Great. Now I know the mid lane creep equilibrium's a little different, but you still want to know this information because this lets you know if it's potentially worth your time roaming there or not. If you can take a quick look at the lane, maybe see if the camps are blocked or not, maybe ask them. Once you see the situation, now you know, let's say the Void Spirit, if I want to kill this troll or this Crystal Maiden, I can tell because I've seen ZQuixotix's video that this equilibrium is going to stay here for quite a while until the support goes and potentially does a pull. So I have the option to maybe I TP here and gank, maybe I walk over and I intercept the support who's trying to do a pull, and I'm the mid here, I've got like 3 levels over them, I kill them. This is kind of early for the mids to roam, I know, but in pubs, the laning happens for like 10 minutes, well, like much longer than it's supposed to. So mids might have their level 6s, the power rune, stuff like that, and you see this happening, and you see the support coming over, you know, I have my option to kill this carry, I have my option to kill the support. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I'm the Queen of Pain, and I was thinking about ganking this off lane. Well, now I know this equilibrium is not very good, unless I want that, unless I am good at diving the tower, right? The faster you can identify this, then the faster you can go for that option or write it off. Every game is unique. Like sometimes the creeps do funny stuff, but the general fundamentals of this video, I promise, happen at least once every single Dota game, if not far more times. Like at the pro level, it's actually like a permanent cycle of this, of battling for equilibrium and then having to do something to fix it and then stopping it. And then like in that 5-second window they had, they like go do something else. Like the pros push it to the max. In pub games, so long as you can see it happening and try to fix it once, or if you're the off lane and you see this happening and you can try to capitalize on it once and do it at the right time, that is a huge step forward in terms of improving your laning stage. So I hope this video helps you do that. Let me know if you have further questions down below, because I know it is complicated, but it's a key part of laning. Also, thank you for watching.